Welcome once again, everyone. This is episode 223 of Geekamole, and I'm your host, Drew, and once again I am joined by my esteemed co-hosts, Crash and Nightstar76. Hi, guys.
Hiya.
And we are going to do that magical little thing that we do. We're bringing you the latest in whatever the hell geek topics titillated our fantasies this past week. As always, it's never everything, but it's what we can fit in. Alright, so I flashed it up there for a moment, but Minecraft is our first topic. And this is definitely the little sandbox that could. It recently underwent a significant upgrade to its combat system, and now it looks like it's trying to put those upgrades to the test. The folks behind Minecraft are basically adding a whole bunch of new mini-games. Now, obviously, mini-games are not new to Minecraft. I don't know why they even consider calling it that, because you have entire servers that are dedicated to the various types of games that you can code in. But the first one that is trying to be officially added in is a competitive multiplayer mode that will release on consoles in June. PvP, gentlemen. PvP. It is trying to be the latest competition to Overwatch, and yeah. So the initial update is planned to be free for all players on all consoles, and Microsoft says that they will be supporting this with paid maps in the months to come. So what was free shall soon be costing you in microtransactions. And thus, the rest of us will just play the older version. There's currently no specific release date for the battle mode. It's sometime in June. And then Microsoft is saying that, Microsoft, I guess, and Mojang are saying that there will be additional mini-games coming down the line. But again, there's a whole crap ton of mini-games out there just on, various servers already, so I don't know what they're planning on doing, but they're trying to capitalize on stuff everybody else has already done. Thanks, Microsoft.
Is anybody surprised, really?
I'm abstaining from commenting on that.
All right, next up, Knight.
Well, you just kind of did a little segue there for me with Overwatch. This game is actually, to me, has been one of the biggest sleepers that's come out recently. It's taken on the whole genre that was more recently put up by Titanfall, and taken a game and just thrown a whole bunch of PvP with characters that actually have deep backgrounds in this game, though. It's actually giving Titanfall a run for its money in that sense. It has a very deep background, strong storyline, but you come across zero of that in the gameplay, other than the abilities.
You gotta watch the trailers.
Watch all the trailers, all the little mini movies, and there's your story. Then you go and play as these characters that have some depth.
As I was telling Crash earlier, I've been trying to watch Twitch again, and all week long it's just been freaking Warhammer and Overwatch everywhere, and I can't stand either one of them. I hear your birdies.
And
Anyway,
Overwatch just reminds me of Team Fortress, so just a more advanced, prettier looking Team Fortress.
It's Team Fortress with titties. And a butt that no one will allow to have a pose.
Yeah.
and a gorilla.
And a gorilla, yes.
Can't leave out the giant, genetically engineered cybernetic gorilla.
Well, everything's better with gorillas.
Sure, yeah. All right, shall we move on?
Let's move on.
All right, next up, Mighty Number 9.
And speaking of reminds me of...
Mighty Number 9. So they have recently released a new trailer for the game, and I don't know what they were smoking when they decided to put this together. It is cringeworthy, to say the least. You can probably go find it on YouTube after the show. But basically, the narrator basically says it has everything, and it will make the bad guys cry like an anime fan on prom night. I'm not sure where they're going with that, but as an anime fan, I take some offense because I did not cry on my prom night.
And it strikes me as a little silly that they would say something like that, given the target audience has some overlap there.
Yeah, I mean they're freaking taking this. It's a spiritual, one of the spiritual successors. Red Ash being the other one. It's the sad spiritual successor. Pardon me, of Mega Man, for God's sake.
Of course.
And I mean, obviously, it's the culture that produced anime, and here you are picking on anime fans. And the gameplay that they're showing, I'm like, ooh, he can dash, he can jump dash, he can spin dash, he can jet, he can double dash, he can do this, and he can have combos, and he can do things like Mega Man can do.
Why don't they just release a Mega Man construction kit and have done with it?
Well, because that would require...
Sort of like the Super Mario one that Nintendo did.
It's the same reason that they can't... I mean, the IP's tied up. It's the same reason you can't do a Castlevania construction kit. The IP is owned by somebody who's not going to do anything with it. So that's why we ended up with two spiritual successors. Neither one is being very particularly...
inventive
or encouraging. So...
I know, it's kind of sad. It's like System Shock, its spiritual successor, changed things up, completely new setting, and they did it well. This looks so close that they could be like related.
Well, the sad thing is that some of the people who were commenting on the new trailer were basically saying, "I'm sad that I kickstarted this."
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's a telling sign, guys. You know, when your Kickstarter base is going, yeah, your marketing sucks, dude.
I mean, the main character looks like Mega Man's like goofy cousin.
Well, that's the whole point.
Exactly.
And
They didn't go anywhere with it.
That blue cod piece of all things.
They just did not take this anywhere that has not been gone already.
Oh, it's blatant plagiarism. I mean...
What, 10 times before now?
Well, maybe 8 times, because this is number...
Yeah, but there's at least... I've seen Mega Man 10 out there. So.
Well,
yeah,
X, X2, X5, X whatever.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it's been
done.
Boldly going where we've gone so many times before.
Alright, moving on. The Witcher 3.
Yes, Witcher 3, the latest expansion coming up is Blood and Wine. It looks to be the last that will be seen of the Witcher world. From what I've heard, from what I've been reading, CD Projekt Red has decided they are not doing a Witcher 4 at this time. They are looking to move into a new IP, Cyberpunk 2077.
Which is what we're suspecting they will announce probably at E3.
And I'm looking forward to it because I've been a big fan of CD Projekt Red from the first Witcher game, and I love their policy on not having DRM on their games. And
Cyberpunk 2077 has been, on the lips of everybody for freaking ever. I mean, the trailer they had with the the bullets and all that stuff flying by.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that one.
So we'll see. E3 is coming next month, and the big announcements will hit. We will of course share as the announcements come out. We will bring them to you here on the show. I, of course, cannot go to E3 because I am lonely. I can't afford it.
But if Witcher 3 is where they're going out of the Witcher series, at least they're ending on an amazing note. Yeah. It's a great game.
I saw somebody, I forget who it was, somebody had done, I think it was actually one of the actual artists for Witcher 3 who did Witcher 3 in the future with the cyberpunk world.
Oh,
So he
that
did
could be fun.
yeah, he did some sample art of like of a future
Geralt
Witcher. Well, not Geralt himself. He almost looked like an Assassin's Creed character. But he was terming this as like the Witcher of the future, essentially. So
It almost reminds me of a comic book Frey, except for it's Buffy in the future.
All right, so
Little
next.
side note there on Witcher. I still have my original enhanced edition of
Same
the
here.
CD Product Red.
Sorry, I have it on Steam. Sorry.
I have it on Steam and GOG and a few other places.
I still need to play the whole damn thing. So, but if you want Witcher 3, it's on sale.
Yeah.
It's on sale on Steam. All right, next up, Fallout 4. Knight, take it.
Yeah, this one actually kind of shocked me a little bit when I was expecting to see, issues with the new DLC because there were some rumblings in the beginning with the fog effects coming out for the Far Harbor DLC for the game. I was expecting it to come out not in the way that it did. I was expecting it to come out and hit Xbox or, maybe just PC with slower video cards. I was not expecting players to come out and scream and holler bloody murder at PlayStation over this because of the fact that when you're playing this particular part of the game, the DLC, the fog effects actually cause your frame rate to drop to the point that it's like moving through mud.
Yeah, volumetric fog will do that to you if you're not careful when you code it.
Right.
But on a console, for God's sake, that's designed to
Yeah, it's one
do
of
that.
those
Not
they
only.
should have.
And for it to be the one that, so many, you've got your PC Master Race people out there, and then you've got your PS4 people, and they all love to bash on Xbox for its lower graphics and frame rate. And then what happens? It runs it beautifully.
That's okay. All the consoles got to pick on the PC port for Batman, so we get to flip our middle finger back at them.
Well, yeah. But no, I even played this on the Xbox, no glitching whatsoever. And yeah, only been affecting the PS4, so I found it amusing.
I need to bust my ass through the rest. I have not finished Fallout 4. I need to bust my ass through that game so I can get to the expansion.
I'll wager it's probably just a implementation mistake of the effect.
Oh, probably. They'll probably release something firmware related to patch it or something. Who knows? But, haha, PS4, haha.
Yeah.
Alright, next up, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. There has been a new trailer released. This trailer actually has nothing to do with gameplay, nothing to do with, you don't see anything from the gaming engine, you don't see anything code-related. It is, in fact, a live-action trailer called The Mechanical Apartheid. It is atmospheric, shall we say. Almost a brief documentary on the history of the world that you will be playing in Deus Ex. Basically detailing, they refer to it as a 4-minute prologue, revealing the state of the world in 2027. So the whole situation between those who are augmented and those who are pure humans, so the Augs and the non-Augs. So it's a very interesting little thing to see. It is on YouTube. Watch it after the show. I'm gonna make a sign that just says "Watch it after the show." But the game itself is currently scheduled to come out on August 23rd. So if you want to pre-purchase it, go ahead. But my thoughts on pre-purchasing electronic things.
Yeah, we'll also file it under. I still need to play my way through the other Deus Ex games.
Yeah, so do I. So
It's
do
one of
I.
those. I get it, but I don't know the world it's set in well enough.
Well, and part of the problem is because the games came in out of order.
Mm.
So there's the order they were released in, but then there's also the chronology that they don't match. So you actually have to. I actually went to Wikipedia and I had them written down in the chronological order because I was going to back when I was trying to be on Twitch more often. I was actually going to play them in chronological order with mouse, and yeah, that didn't happen. So I will find a way to do it. But yeah, I still have to play through all those. I still have to finish playing through the Book of Wise also. But I got a lot of games to play.
Oh, same
Damn
here.
it! Damn it!
I'm going through my PS3 classics. I want to do Red Dead Redemption and all those.
There's a possibility that they might announce a sequel to that too.
That's what I've heard.
So,
Which really confuses me because 2 weeks ago, Rockstar came out and said that they were not planning to release or even announce anything additional until 2017, and now they're saying, "Hey, we're kidding."
Yeah, I've heard rumors of GTA 6 and Red Dead Redemption 2 because I know people have been wanting Red Dead Redemption 2 because, well, for a Western game that'll never sell, that thing made them a lot of money.
who knows? Who knows? E3, I'm telling you. Last year's E3 was the shit.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was, I mean, freaking... So much was announced, and I still wet my panties to think about it. But, but we'll see. We'll see. Like you said, when it happens, it happens, and we'll bring you what we hear here.
And of course, announced is not the same as actually released.
Yes. All right, next up, the FCC and net neutrality. Knight, take it away.
All right, so this was something that I stumbled upon the other day, kind of by accident, just like something else that I'll be talking about later. But, I mean, everybody was familiar when everything was going up about net neutrality and services being charged extra to, or rather, ISPs being able to charge additional fees to the online services such as
Netflix.
YouTube, Netflix, Vimeo, all those types of services where, it's an increased bandwidth usage. And the FCC knocked that down, saying, no, we're going to...
Traffic is traffic.
You don't get to throttle or choke off your traffic just because you don't like the site or...
Because they're competition.
Yeah.
Right, and part of what they were calling it were zero ratings and such to this whole plan to make sure that nobody was being charged or that ISPs weren't doing, shady backhanded things.
Oh, like Comcast deciding that downloading from their streaming service doesn't count against your bandwidth usage towards the cap that they had at the time.
Right, which the FTC actually did rule on and is still investigating that along with other service providers as being conflict of interest.
Mm-hmm.
So they're actually going after them for that. But at the same time, with this other deal here, with the zero ratings, a bunch of the companies that don't want to be charged or have a strong stance on net neutrality they penned a open letter to the FCC to get them to actually open up and have full transparency with all of these new hearings that they're having about individual cases and such, because right now they're doing it behind closed doors. So the public's not getting to know what little deals the FCC themselves are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a big thing right now to try and get everything, we want net neutrality and we want to know why it's neutral and how neutral it truly is. Companies like Comcast and such are not the only ones that are doing these types of things.
Cell phone companies are doing it too. Where it's like you get free music through certain services that doesn't hit your bandwidth limit.
Right.
But competing services, you're pretty much it's coming out of your bandwidth bucket.
Right, which I find really interesting because I do know that as a T-Mobile customer myself, they have their whole binge on program.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one.
A lot of the different streaming services though are direct competitors. So they're giving you these binge on. We're not going to charge you for these specific services to stream, but we're also opening it up for the competitive services as well.
Mm.
So they're doing it slightly right. I just wish that even some of these other telecommunications companies were being more transparent, even with why they're doing it or how they're justifying it.
Yeah.
So hopefully this letter will move towards the FCC getting around to making some kind of a decision on it, probably maybe around 2019.
Unless, of course, a certain someone gets elected to president. But we're not going to talk politics here.
Yeah, please. Politics right now.
This is as close to politics as we need to get.
Yeah. I think all three of us are pretty much in the same ballpark on this particular person. So we're not going to force our political agenda on anyone who happens to be watching, but you can guess.
just like net neutrality, let's keep this neutral.
Yes. Anything else on net neutrality?
No, that's all I've got for right now.
All right, Crash.
All right, so rumors, of course, flying fast and furious about the Xbox 2 and the PS 4.5. Of course, not official names, but these are supposed to be mid-lifespan upgrades to account for 4K televisions. And I'm looking at these, and I'm thinking, at least Nintendo's NX seems to be a full generational step up from the Wii U.
Wouldn't be hard.
Instead of trying to do a sort of half step like Sony's planning with the PS4, and Microsoft is allegedly planning with the Xbox, but there hasn't been that much. There's been more confirmation out of Sony than Microsoft at this point.
They'll probably call it the PS4K or something like that.
Yeah. But it just seems to me, I don't know, it just seems a little silly to me to have this system that's supposed to take advantage of the newer screens and stuff, but it's going to be in some ways held back by having to do a dual role as being the same as the old system in a lot of ways.
And this is something that Crash and I were talking about in the car on the way over here. I was speculating that part of the problem is that, PS4, when it came out, so many games were being split between the PS3 and the PS4. They were being released, obviously on both consoles. Such that when the PS3 was finally depreciated, even though you could still get it, and that's what I've got, it had a robust library. The PS4 has a crippled library. It doesn't have a very robust thing. So if they were to in fact come out with the PS5 with their lack of backwards compatibility, this would be the console that everyone completely forgot, and there would be no point in retaining it. They've got still more things that are scheduled to come out for this. I mean, I can see with the half step they can still maintain that backwards compatibility with the PS4 without a full system upgrade. And yeah, they probably have more chips just laying around that they don't want to get rid of.
And as I understand it, some of it is that as the chip manufacturing goes to smaller and smaller chips, or smaller and smaller processes, it's actually harder and more expensive to get the older chips that are currently in use in the PS4 and Xbox, because they use an older process and all these factories have been retooled for the newer one.
Mm-hmm.
So there is something to be gained by that, but then again, I have yet to get a 4K TV, so it's not anywhere on my list.
Much like the elusive virtual reality unicorn, I don't have one either. So.
Yeah, it's like, oh yes, and the virtual reality. Oh my word! I've seen. It's like, I don't know. I like to think that my system is pretty good, but dear Lord, the amount of specs I need to upgrade just to get the basic virtual reality to function.
There we go.
Yeah,
short of doing it with
please.
a Google Cardboard.
Just put it down.
yeah, it's like the.
I just think it's funny that the phones are coming out with virtual reality, and I'm like, it's hard enough to get those assholes to put it down when they're texting. Now that you're inviting them to put it over their faces.
Oh, well, you saw the post that I did on Facebook a few weeks back. You even commented on it about people texting, and it's the VR goggles with this guy.
Yeah, that's all we need is now just people running around with the freaking phones over their faces, and now we can't see squat.
Now, I would admit that I'm not too far up on everything that Sony is planning or anything like that, but I can say that some of the stuff that has been coming out that I do know of from Microsoft has me really excited. And I mean, just the ideas for some of the sub consoles that they're thinking about doing, or rumored to be thinking about doing, to phrase it correctly here. With basic set-top boxes, since the FCC did just rule that cable manufacturers can no longer just manufacture their own boxes, and they have to allow other people to be able to actually hook up.
Yeah, and trust me, having worked for a cable company for over a decade, they will go out of their way to make it as difficult and arduous as possible for these other manufacturers.
Oh, absolutely.
And for anyone who wants to use a non-standard.
Oh, yes.
It's hard enough right now. If I wanted to go out and get a DOCSIS 3.1 modem, Comcast would not allow me to hook it up.
Really?
Because
that's a change in policy.
Yet fully supported in our region.
And it's like, I know you can get cable boxes. There are ways to legitimately buy cable boxes that would work with the system, but the process of setting up an independent cable box is made so difficult because it's not that they never thought it would happen, it's that they designed the systems as though it would never happen.
Right.
So it requires a lot of overrides to allow it, and it's like, guess what?
That's hands-on. We don't like to do hands-on.
Yeah.
All right, so now we move on to print, ironically. And Knight, this is yours?
All right, so I've actually been looking forward to this. I own digitally every single edition that is in this library collection. Halo Escalation Library Edition. It actually just came out, was it yesterday, I think it was? No, 2 days ago, on the 24th. And it's actually a collection of all three of the Initiation comics, and then all 12 of the Escalation comics, which are basically the backstory for Halo, going from Halo 4 to Halo 5, and fills in every gap that's there, including how all of Locke's team came together. The process that Buck went through with going in and becoming a Spartan, and everything else that went on in between. So if you enjoy the Halo series and love these comic books, hardcover edition right now on Amazon, $32.
Sweet. All right, next up, Crash and I are going to discuss Rebirth.
Oh.
Spoiler
yes.
alerts, spoiler alerts.
Oh, there will be plenty.
There will be spoilers, so I'm just saying, I'm going to start putting a little graphic up there with a little spinning handle on it. But
that's assuming you haven't seen it. It's only a spoiler if you haven't seen any of the 500 articles about the Rebirth.
Yeah, before the comics even came out.
Because Jeff Johns was was dropping spoilers left
Spoiler
and right.
bombs, and I'm waiting for Alan Moore to have a coronary. And let's start with the Dark Side War.
Oh, yes.
Thank God it's done, and it sucked ass the entire time.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they finally bring it to a close.
And now Darkseid's a baby.
Baby Darkseid. Because that never needed to happen.
It
is the
baby Darkseid, who is the child of Superwoman and the evil Shazam.
Yeah.
No.
Because really, did Darkseid at any point ever need the ability to suck the powers out of other people? Alongside everything else he's supposed to be able to do.
He just sucks, apparently. So yeah, Darkseid's death apparently created a crack in the multiverse, or the Speed Force, or time, or whatever the hell, and now we have Rebirth. Would you like to discuss what happens?
Well, let's see.
Let's start with Wally West.
Oh, yes. Wally West, the original Wally West from the DCU.
Pre-Flashpoint.
Pre-Flashpoint is evidently back.
So now there's both Wally West, who are now cousins.
Yeah.
We'll figure that one out.
And evidently something along the lines of 10 years stolen from everybody in the DCU, which explains the whole New 52 and all their starting out all over again thing.
And as Wally tries to explain this to Barry, they did it to weaken us.
And mind you, which 10 years? Because that 10 years that stretches over a few decades.
Yeah, that 10
real
years.
time.
That 10 years that actually equates to 60 to 70. Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
we won't
maybe 20. We're going back to Crisis time, I suppose.
Yeah, we won't. Well, let's just. There is no unraveling the timey-wimey ball that is comic book time.
Well, but they talk about how they destroyed legacies and all this other stuff, and I said, what was the quote he gave? Basically, there's going to be a war between hope and despair, love and apathy.
Yeah, apathy is probably going to be just. Yeah.
And here's the great reveal that's going to give Alan Moore either the biggest chubby or the biggest heart attack, one or the other. The person who's responsible for the creation of the New 52 in canon is Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen.
Yeah.
The universe that was meant to be sacrosanct and untouchable and completely separate from the DC multiverse is responsible for part of the DC multiverse. My head hurt so badly.
Then again, I recall in Multiversity they seriously took the Charlton characters in their universe and started showing them as though they almost liked the Watchmen.
Mm.
So, which were the Watchmen were based on those characters in the first place.
Well, I mean,
so now they're trying to. So now these original characters are trying to be more like the characters that were based off of them.
I saw somebody did a review. I forget. I should have written it down. Somebody did a review. I read it online where they were commenting that it's like Jim Lee and Didio basically said, "We've screwed up. Jeff Johns, fix it, make it better." And Jeff Johns said, "Yep, big ol' fuck you to the 52. Let's kill Pandora while we're at it."
Well, let's not just kill her. Let's splatter her over an alleyway.
Let's vaporize her in the most Dr. Manhattan way we can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, really, if that wasn't a big clue as to who was behind it, the fact that she goes up pretty much almost exactly like Rorschach at the end of Watchmen.
Well, that's
and there's so
thing.
many other characters that could do that, but still.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is that Wally is spending so much time explaining to everybody, you don't understand, it's somebody more powerful than this dude over here, more powerful than Darkseid. It's, somebody outside the universe. I'm going, Dr. Manhattan is like Spectre level, but Spectre wouldn't do this shit. In fact, now I want to see Spectre versus Dr. Manhattan because that would be funny as hell.
But the character... Yeah.
Anger and dispassionate. That's just going at it.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That'd be, yeah.
Oh, not to mention, of course, the wrath of God versus the dispassionate scientist. That has so many... That goes so many
meta.
ways.
That is meta beyond meta.
That would be fun.
So yeah, I have slight hope for Rebirth. I'm just glad Darkseid War is over so that I can stop throwing up.
But the one thing that gets me is the Joker.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
Do tell. Go ahead.
We're told, DC was teasing that we would find out the name of the Joker, and along the course of Rebirth, we'd finally find out who the Joker is, and then, but first they tell us there's 3 of them. So which one do we find out about? Do we get to get all their names, or is it just one of them? And if we only get one, who wants to bet on that one being completely expendable?
Well, I think. Oh God, was it
Now
the
they
Killing
got 2
Joke?
spares.
I think it was the Killing Joke, where they basically said even when he's explaining his own back history, he basically says, "Am I this? Am I this? Am I this?" I don't know. Even I lose track.
Mm-hmm.
So, things, stuff. Superman is back with Lois Lane and married, and the 52 Pretender is dead, and now there's a Chinese Superman who somehow has the 52 Pretenders soul. I don't even get that. That made my head spin.
Yeah.
Chinese
Still
Superman.
not quite sure who Mr. Oz is supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't know who that's supposed to be either. Superboy is now legitimately Superman's son.
Oh, Lord.
And he's going to be teaming up, of course, with Damian.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah. I still prefer the pre-Flashpoint Superboy. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
At least they got, as Mounts would say, at least they got the butthole off of Raven's face. Yeah, that chick in the ass was starting to get a little distracting. Beast Boy still looks like a little fairy. I'm sorry. They need to calm that one down just a smudge. I'm not thrilled with the new Raven look, but at least it's no more chicken butthole. She just looks like angry goth now.
And they change her looks so often. I mean, heck, I can think of at least a half dozen outfits she's had over the years, if not more.
Yes, but one is, there's one that's like Raven. That's that one. That every time that's Raven.
Mm-hmm.
That's so Raven. Now I'm going to have to put Raven Simone. Put her face. Yeah, no.
Okay.
So Rebirth is a thing. You can go. It's going to be coming out with all the titles this month.
As they cancel off the new 52 titles with issues 50. For ones that made it that high, they all get cut off at issue 52 because God forbid, that they not pull out the 52 thing as often as possible.
Well, they don't believe in early pullout.
And then
You know what's funny? Well, you guys can't see it, but you should be proud. I actually have a floor in this office finally. Mouse shamed me once. I did a show about it where I was cleaning my office. While cleaning up in here, I actually came across my giant, and I almost put it on the wall, my giant poster of the DC characters drawing the line at $2.99. Yeah, that didn't last.
Oh yeah, I remember
They
that.
drew a line and then skipped right on over it. So, yeah, Rebirth is happening. I didn't put a graphic up this, but Marvel, what the hell are you doing? Captain America, Agent of Hydra, what?
I don't know. I was seeing a Marvel title lately that had Road to Civil War 2 because
Oh yeah, Civil War 2 is a thing.
because Civil War 1 wasn't obnoxious enough.
Well, Civil War 2, I still haven't quite figured out what the hell it's like. I don't even know what the diametric oppositions are. It's like Captain Marvel versus
Iron Man.
everybody else. I don't know.
For what I've heard, it's something along the lines of using
Proactive versus
Or
reactive, I think.
Yeah, basically someone leading a whole side using the heroes with precognitive powers and stuff like that to help, it's Minority Report.
I think Captain Marvel and the Ultimates are basically attempting to do proactive solutions rather than sit around and wait for things to happen. And she's pissed off because everybody keeps using like cosmic cubes and crap like that. And she's like, no. But nothing has been so clearly defined as original Civil War's battle line. So I
don't know.
Marvel, chill out. Stop being DC.
And as long as they don't end up doing it where you start feeling that, you know, the side that you're supposed to be against might actually have a point.
Well, that's the best kind of writing, is when it's
as long
not,
as they do it right.
Yeah, when it's done right. It's when, you know...
It's when they do ridiculous straw mans.
Yeah, mustache twirling evil on one side.
Yeah, because I seem to recall in the original Civil War, they had to make some of these characters carry the idiot ball just to make it make sense.
Yeah, like the movie that shall not be named. Alright, so moving on then. Next up, Night. Star Trek. Axanar.
Leave it to me to have yet another Star Trek thing to talk about.
Oh, you'll have two of them.
Exactly. Well, it just shows how much I love Star Trek. But, yeah, Axanar, since the inception of the web TV show, a lot of fans have gotten together and made different varying shows. There was Star Trek Project 2, Star Trek Phase 2, and a few other different ones that have done, you know, wonderful as far as, you know, doing episodes of a web series without anybody really batting an eye other than to say, hey, great job, and getting some big actors to come in. I mean, Phase 2 even got George Takei to come in and do an episode. Pavel Chekhov.
Walter Koenig.
Thank you. They even got him to come in and do an episode. Now, this series, Star Trek and Axar, is based, again, in the Star Trek universe, in the future of it, somewhere between TOS and TNG. They got together a bunch of stuff, a bunch of people, put together a 20-minute prologue with some pretty big-name actors.
And it's awesome.
It is. And then
Watch
they did
it after the show.
But then they did a Kickstarter. And that Kickstarter actually raised over $100,000. That caught the eyes of CBS.
Now, mind you, this is not a for-profit project. The Kickstarter was simply to produce the movie, a internet movie that would be released for free.
Right. So Paramount and CBS went after the production studio putting this on. This is probably a pretty big mistake, taking into account that one of the original producers of Next Generation, or writers rather, was actually one of the producers for this, that had actually put some of his own money up. They also got Tony Todd, who played Worf's brother in Next Generation, Richard Hatch, Kate Vernon, Gary Graham, who most notably was in Alien Nation as Detective Sykes, and then later went on to be in Enterprise as the Vulcan representative of the government there. They got all these big people to come in and do this show, and then they went after them. Well, recently, J.J. Abrams, who had known about it for most of the time that it was going on, started talking with Justin Lin, the guy who's directing the current Star Trek Beyond. And Justin Lin's reaction was, what the hell are you guys doing? And then he convinced JJ, and then they both went to Paramount and convinced them to drop the lawsuit because this is not how you treat your fans.
That, and it's also very bad to be doing something of this type right before you're releasing a movie.
Yes.
Yeah, pissing off the fan base, not the best of moves.
Yeah, and especially not after they were pissed off with Khan as it was. So,
hey, I liked Khan. portrayal of the character, especially if you've done like I have.
Ricardo Montalban is
I'm going to say this one more time for those who have not heard my opinion on the new Star Treks. I love what J.J. Abrams has done. I love the movies in and of themselves. It's the wink, wink, nod, nod that's starting to piss me off. That it was bad enough in the first one, and then they were just jabbing you in the ribs with knives in the second one, and I'm like, we get it. We do not need the wink, wink, nod, nod. Just tell the goddamn story. And if you really can't come up with a new and original plot that doesn't involve retelling the second story, then you're in trouble because the third story can't occur. So thank God no more Search for Spock.
We won't even go into...
Oh no, they don't have to search for Spock, but they are going to destroy the Enterprise again in the third movie.
Well, they can't fly a ship without, destroying it within 3 movies. I mean, I think there's a contract that requires the Enterprise to be blown up every 3 movies.
I'm still
so lawsuit has been dropped, and the production company doing an XR is free to move forward and actually make the movie.
So they will be able to fulfill their Kickstarter obligations at long last. So, again, go watch it after the show. Alright, so next up, my little buttons, there we go. Mirror's Edge Catalyst.
Another game I've been meaning to play.
I don't think the game's even out yet, is
it? I think Mirror's Edge.
Mirror's Edge is out.
Mirror's Edge I've got. I just haven't played it yet.
But, yeah. So they're thinking of making a movie. Probably not a movie, but a television show out of this. The studio that is responsible for producing Big Brother and Master Chef, Endemol Shine Studios, is looking to create a female-centered action series around Mirror's Edge Catalyst, where the main character, Faith, is trying to rescue her sister who's been framed for murder. The problem is that, as most people will tell you, Mirror's Edge is not the most story-driven of games. So, who knows how that will adapt to television? Sometimes it works, sometimes not so much. But then again, if it's barren and if it's a barren premise, they can run away with it.
Yeah, they could create a whole world around a few little things. And besides, it's nowhere near as lacking a story as what I'll cover later. So,
yes. So, what scares me is while I was reading this, I was seeing simultaneously so many comments regarding not only X-Men Apocalypse, which comes out tonight, which is not getting particularly high comments, but Warcraft, which comes out next month, and is already at a 38% on Rotten Tomatoes and 32 on Metacritic. I'm like, Blizzard, you're in deep crap, because Legion's not looking that great, and if Warcraft isn't looking that great, you're not going to have a good year, Blizzard. Poke, poke. So, yeah, Mirror's Edge Catalyst might be a thing. Keep your eyes open, guys. Next up, Knight. Tell us about Fox's stupidity.
Oh.
Yeah, well, first I will just say this. I did play the Mirror's Edge Catalyst beta, and it takes the first game and throws it out the window in an amazing way, and it's a great game. Now, on to Fox's latest little fiasco. Last week, in an episode of Family Guy, they depicted a quick little spot where they were playing an old NES game called Double Dribble that had a exploit in it where you could always make a 3-pointer every time if you hit the buttons just right, no matter where you were on the board. I remember this because I played this exploit. Now, where they went wrong with this was that to find the footage of somebody playing that exploit, they went and pulled somebody's YouTube video that was posted 7 years ago. Did not get that person's permission, and then proceeded to put it up in the show for the gameplay of the two characters in Family Guy playing it, while changing one little area of the screen just so it showed that there were two players, not a player versus a computer. But all the timings and everything matched up. Well, the very next day, Fox put basically a cease and desist up for the YouTuber that did this, blocking the video on grounds that it had copyrighted Fox material in it.
Yeah, their automated system saw the match and they didn't bother to check that it was what they had used.
And this was only one of two, because there was another game, if I recall correctly, that was also the exact same thing was done to the other game too. Well, but this is the one that got. This is the one that got.
Oh, and this is another example of abuse of the DMCA, because it's a system whereby if you're not, these takedowns are done, and then you have to prove you're innocent.
Well, I
to get it back up.
And more importantly, now the question is, does the YouTube creator who actually had his actual video stolen from YouTube now have legal recourse against Fox? Not simply for having taken his video, having his video stricken, but from actually having his content stolen and broadcast without his permission.
That would be interesting to look into from a legal standpoint, but does he have the legal right to claim that?
There's the question.
Because of the copyrighted material of the game itself.
And that's where
they can also come back after.
And that's where we come down to the very fine line that's currently playing out is, where is a Let's Play original versus the content of the game itself? Who has that copyright? Who has that ownership? If I'm, because God knows if it was something, if they stole my playthrough of Dragon Age Inquisition and I could prove that it was in fact my playthrough of Dragon Age Inquisition, or Fallout 4 or something like that, you better believe I would raise a stink over it, because it's my content in as much as I played it. So the decisions being made there, even though it is utilizing the assets of the game company, the decisions being played out were mine.
And while EA would have the right to claim their assets, you could still claim your derivative work.
Right.
If say a third party like say Fox were to use it in one of their shows.
Right. Now, if Fox were to go and just simply get the game from EA and play it out themselves, then they have the total,
Then it's them and EA involved, and that's the.
But the fact that they pulled content straight from a YouTube channel
and
altered it.
Altered.
And then they didn't, and apparently didn't even think to communicate with either the person they were taking the content from, the maker of the game.
And I'm sure if they'd gone to the guy and said, "Hey, we're going to do an episode of Family Guy, and we'd like to be able to show this," I'm sure he said, "Sure."
Yeah.
I don't think he would have batted an eyelash at it.
Not likely.
I mean, there is something to be said for doing one's due diligence and trying to contact people for doing stuff like this.
Yep. All right, we are running out of time, guys. Are we it for Fox?
Yep.
All
Yeah.
right.
Screw Fox.
Screw Fox. Gosh, Tetris.
So, evidently, there is a Tetris movie being made. They've got an $80 million budget. And like I was saying during the Mirror's Edge, here's something with even less story to build something off of.
Didn't they do this already with Pixels?
Well, even Pac-Man has more functional story to work from. Because he's got a family, he's being haunted, you can do something with that. Tetris has... it's a
falling blocks.
Don't get me wrong, it's a great way to spend some time when you're...
I can see a strange romance story between an oblong and a square.
Yeah.
As they lunged and embrace and things keep getting in the way. I don't know. Studios, I'm going to just say this. I'm going to throw this out there. You know, anytime you have $80,000, you just want to piss away.
$80 million.
$80 million, you want to just piss away. The three of us will happily take it off your hands.
And the thing is I'm looking at this, it's like comic book movies, the superhero genre has exploded. They've had some really big releases and that have made a lot of money. Video games, not so much. There's been a couple of video game movies that were okay, but I've not seen anything to justify putting an $80 million budget on a Tetris movie. Ever. Just, no.
Protagonist, who's the antagonist? What's the
falling spin gravity is the antagonist.
No, all they need is Michael Bay to direct it so that things will explode all over the place.
Whenever
all the blocks come together and
explode. It'll be just 2 hours of a giant Michael Bay orgasm.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch that. Thank you.
Okay, next.
Next up. Oh, good. Final Fantasy. It's me. Brief revelation here. There is a CGI feature film referred to as Kingsglaive that will be taking place prior to the Final Fantasy 15. It is. They've already got trailers out for it. Again, watch after the show. But it is pretty damn spectacular. I mean, I'll be honest. Most people panned, Final Fantasy VII, Advent Children, and Spirits Within. I loved them both. I'm sorry, but I love them for a different reason other than the fact that whatever. The movie is set in against a war between the Kingdom of Lucis and the Empire of Niflheim. As the elite Lucis soldiers called the Kingsglaive defend the Crown City against the Imperial troops. So it is meant to be the setup for, I guess, the game itself. And as much as I want to play the game, I now want to get the movie. So go watch it, guys.
I am.
Next up, Night.
Okay, what was my next up?
Call Up.
Okay, this I stumbled upon completely by accident and then got a little bit upset by the fact that it's not an American movie.
That's how I felt with the Russians' release of The Guardians.
No, this actually looks better than that.
You've seen the trailers for Guardians, right?
Yes, I have. That was, yeah.
That's the way Fantastic Four should have been done.
Probably.
But moving on, go ahead.
Yeah, no, this one, basically it's a group of online gamers all get called up to go and play this virtual reality game where they put on these stun suits and...
What country is it from?
UK.
Oh, okay.
In fact, it just hit theaters in the UK 6 days ago. Right the day after I found out about it. And it's getting good reviews over there. All the reviews that I were reading for it actually came up and said, hey, this is good. This is something, we're giving it 7 out of 10 stars, which is not bad for a B wannabe sci-fi gamer flick. But basically, these guys get called up to go and take part in this contest. The winner's going to get, I think it's £100,000. And partway through, they realize that they're not the only people in there. They're actually fighting against other people in this. And when they get fatal hits on them or the others, the suits and helmets actually kill them. So it's a survival.
And that's the reason virtual reality will never win.
For some reason, I'm getting shades of Dot Hack and Sword Art Online. But anyway.
But if you guys get the chance, check out the trailer for it. You can find it on IMDb or YouTube. Just search for The Call Up. And to me, it looks like it's going to be really good.
All right, sweet. Next up, Power Rangers. We haven't even gotten the damn movie yet, and they are already threatening a series of movies. they're looking at possibly 6 to 7. Apparently, the studio was so excited with the reveal of the new armors.
Were they designed by Tony Stark?
Well, it's like I said, these armors are meant to be crystal. They grow on the people. So,
Now I'm visualizing inappropriate transformation sequences. But anyhow.
Sounds like
brain powered that gives cockpit a whole new meaning to mechas.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Yeah, that was the. So yeah, they are apparently so thrilled with this. I mean, we're not even going to see this movie until May of 2017, and they're already looking at potentially 6 to 7 movies. Dude, release one movie first. Then get your joygasm out of the way, and then decide if you need a sequel. Yeah.
Well, that
Just
advice
saying.
could cover a lot of movies.
And that advice covers every movie. Alright. Moving. I'm not even going to talk about Blade Runner 2. Because Mouse isn't here, and I want to see him have a corner when I do it. He hates it.
Dear God, why?
Because it amuses the hell out of me to talk about it, and I know it shouldn't be a thing, and yet it is.
Well, there you go.
And last but not least, Knights, we're back to Star Trek.
yes. Now I'm sure everybody, or at least most everybody out there, have seen the new posters that have come out.
They can't steal the plot from the third movie, but they can steal the posters.
Well, yeah, they definitely stole the poster for the first poster that came out from the motion picture. If you look at that poster, actually up on my blog, I took the two posters, split them straight down the center, put them up against each other, and if it wasn't for the pixelation difference and the words not quite matching up, you'd be like, wait a second, that's one poster. Basically, they took the exact same design with the rainbow colors going up into the sky with the female character in the center and then Spock off to the right and Kirk to the left with the title down below and left.
Spock, Kirk, and mysterious androgynous alien female.
Yeah. Luckily, this one's not Denobulan, but
Yes.
so
Maybe
that
not
could,
so luckily.
it could make it interesting. But on
She will not be interfacing with V'ger quite that way.
what was that?
She will not be interfacing with V'ger quite that way.
No.
She wants to touch the Maker. I'm sorry, that was a soft
Oh,
porn
she wants
just
to
waiting
get
to happen.
Balls looking at her. She's a violent one. But but that part aside right there, they actually did a beautiful job with the rest of the posters. And right after that, after I saw those and wrote a big blog post about it and put the pictures together, the second trailer launched. And the more I watch that trailer, the more in love with it I'm becoming. It's looking like they're actually going to do a really good job of it. There are some aspects of it that are a little bit of an annoyance, like the fact that he's got a dirt bike on some alien planet that has its own built-in teleporter or something, because it actually teleports at one point. And the fact that they made the view screen in front actually transparent, I guess, extra thick transparent aluminum or something. But no, it's looking good.
So go and watch that after the show, which is just about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me these last 2 weeks. Mouse and Cece will ideally be back next week. We're going to have to figure out new recording times, but that doesn't concern you, gentlemen.
Yeah.
But thank you guys, and anything you want to say to the audience before you go?
Thank you for tolerating me.
Pretty much the same thing.
All right, peace out, guys.
Peace.